everyone, welcome to another episode of Brainbites. This video is brought to you by your favorite host at Brainstorm Brewery and all of our Patreon donors at patreon.com/brainstormbrewery. If you enjoy this YouTube video, check us out on iTunes, brainstormbrewery.com, or any other podcast app that you happen to use to listen to all your weekly podcasts. We upload a new cast every single Friday, or Thursday if you're a member of our Patreon, and we are your #1 podcast for how to help your Magic cards make you money, or how to make Magic the Gathering a little bit cheaper to play. So today we are going to talk about selling your personal collection and sort of how to get the most value or the best value for yourself depending on your personal situation if you're looking to cash out of a bunch of Magic cards. So this video was suggested to us by Emery Kitty on Twitter, thank you very much, and we are sort of going to go over the different options you have for getting rid of all the unnecessary cardboard you don't use. The person who suggested this video to us said that they wanted to cut down on all the cardboard they're not using outside of decks, so getting rid of all the trade binders, all the, maybe the specs they have, just all that sort of stuff that they're not going to actually play with. So the #1 question I think a lot of us get asked on this podcast is how to get the most amount of money for the least amount of time. And that's a difficult equation to sort of maximize. I mean, you're trying to have your cake and eat it too, essentially. A lot of the time you're going to just sort of pick if you want to save more time and just unload a lot of Magic cards at once and just sell everything, but you're going to take more of a percentage hit on the total value of your collection because you're going to sort of not take the easy way out, but just sort of sell everything at once and get a little bit less value by selling it to somebody who is willing to put in that time and effort to make a higher percentage. Alternatively, you could take a slower route and list everything methodically, organize it, sell it on a marketplace platform like TCGPlayer, like eBay, like CardSphere, and you're going to get a significantly higher percentage of the total value of your collection, but it is of course going to take a lot longer to do that. You're going to end up shipping cards, listing a lot of cards, taking orders over the course of several weeks, maybe months even, depending on the size of your collection. And then after each sale, it's going to take you a variable amount of time to get paid, depending on the platform you use. So instead of just receiving like a lump sum for your entire collection by taking it to a GP or by buylisting it to just one individual person, you're going to have a lot of smaller paychecks coming in over the course of an extended period of time. So we're going to talk about the options you have depending on what your personal situation is and what is best for you individually. Maybe you have a deadline you need to hit, maybe you're buying a house or a car and you just need that lump sum immediately, or maybe you just don't really play anymore and you're financially secure, but you're willing to spend a lot of time just methodically piecing it out. So we're going to start by talking about the advantages of TCGPlayer, the advantages of eBay, and the advantages of something called CardSphere. This is sort of the option if you're looking to maximize that amount of percentage return. This is probably the option that Emery's going to use, and it's the option that's going to get you the most money compared to any other option. The fees you sell on the fees for selling on TCGPlayer or eBay are going to be around 10 to 15% depending on the value of the card you're listing. So you're looking at like an 85% return of TCG low. And personally, full disclosure, I sell a lot on TCGPlayer. I prefer the platform for most situations over eBay, over CardSphere. Just the majority of the cards I am currently selling are listed on TCGPlayer. And one of the big reasons for that is that it's a very easy setup process for somebody who's not sort of technologically advanced, for somebody who's not really good at a lot of computer stuff. The setup for TCG is very, very simple. It takes 10 minutes to set up your store. Once you connect your bank account and all that, it's a very simple process, and you can get started listing your cards very, very quickly. You don't need to take pictures of everything. One of the requirements for selling on eBay is that a lot of your listings will require photos of the individual cards, and some people can't use stock photos. And another advantage of TCGPlayer is that they have a minimum order size. So if you've ever tried to purchase like a 50-cent card on TCGPlayer and nothing else with free shipping, you actually have to add more cards to your cart from that individual seller to total at least $2 unless you're ordering from TCGPlayer direct. So when you're selling on TCGPlayer, if you're planning on listing a decent number of smaller cards, like $1 or $2 cards, you're not going to be hit with those $1.25 orders, and then after stamps and fees and all that, you're just not even making any money. So I do like the fact that you're protected from to some degree from those really, really tiny orders on TCGPlayer. Another advantage on TCG is that I have experienced much better customer service from a selling standpoint. I mean, eBay is notorious for if somebody complains that they didn't get the card, you just have to refund them immediately. There's no real recourse for a seller. You're just up to hoping that the buyer who purchased your card just uses the honor system and says, "Yeah, I got this card. Here's your money." TCGPlayer has much more advanced fraud detection in my experience. They will keep track of buyers who claim they don't receive cards. They will keep track of people who have excessive condition claims, just stuff like that. The customer service is more likely to arbitrate fairly in cases of lost packages. And just personally, to demonstrate my faith in that system, I generally don't ship something with tracking on TCGPlayer unless it is over like $30 or $35, which is a pretty big number for most people. I mean, I'm willing to ship in a plain white envelope like fetch lands, like Khans of Tarkir fetch lands, stuff like that. Just because I have faith in the system that it's not going to get lost, nobody's going to claim or have any sort of scam on me or just basically say that their package didn't arrive. Whereas on eBay, you generally just have to ship everything with tracking just to guarantee and protect yourself. And when you ship with tracking on eBay, you're either taking that loss out of your own pocket and shipping with free shipping and then using that shipping label to take the cost out of the profit of the card you're selling, or you're passing that cost onto the buyer, and then you're less likely to sell cards, because if somebody else has a polluted delta for $15 and then yours is $15 but $2 shipping, it's less likely to sell. But eBay does have some advantages, and I do use eBay. It's not that I exclusively use TCGPlayer. One of the big advantages of eBay is being able to print shipping labels directly from the website instead of having to go to a separate website like PayPal. So if you ship like a $50, $60 card on TCGPlayer, you do have to ship it with tracking, but it can be kind of annoying to go to PayPal separately and print out that PayPal label, typing in all the information, all that, especially if you're shipping a lot of high-value cards. Like, if you're selling a giant Legacy collection and shipping a lot of dual lands with tracking, then that's a lot of PayPal shipping labels. You're going to have to type in the customer information for every single one, type in the address, go through the process for individual labels. But eBay, you can just check mark all those boxes, pay eBay immediately, and just print all your shipping labels. So if you're going to ship a lot of things with tracking, it does simplify the process for you on eBay. Another advantage of shipping on eBay is that you get paid quicker. So if time is of the essence and you really want to get paid quickly and either reinvest that money into more cards, or if you're just looking for that quick paycheck for something like we talked about, like selling dual lands or something, just getting paid immediately and buying that house or car or high value purchase, eBay will generally pay you within a few days because the buyer is the one that pays you directly. TCGPlayer will generally take around 2 weeks or so for you to get paid, depending on your bank. And they'll pay you all at once on Mondays and Thursdays for all of your orders of a specific time period. Whereas eBay, you get paid per individual order by the buyer, sometimes immediately, sometimes it takes a couple days, but you're getting paid quicker. Another advantage of eBay is that you can sell a lot more obscure accessories, trinkets, playmats, spin downs, deck boxes on a secondary market, whereas TCGPlayer, you don't always have that access. So one of my favorite things to sell on eBay are the Commander Anthology spin downs. They're spin down dice that go up to 99 life, and they come as a 4-pack in the Commander Anthology. I've been selling those on eBay for $5 a piece with $3 shipping, and they've been moving relatively quickly as a way to subsidize the cost of that Commander Anthology. You can sell a lot of just obscure, weird stuff like that, like the Explorers of Ixalan toolkits, the cardboard inserts with all the tokens and stuff like that. I use eBay to move a lot of that obscure stuff that doesn't really have a TCGPlayer product listing. The third option you can use as a marketplace is CardSphere. For those of you who have heard of Puka Trade and were sort of scared off by it or were burned by that website, CardSphere is being marketed, and I've had some success with it, as sort of the fixed Puka Trade. They looked at the failures of Puka Trade, and they learned from a lot of their mistakes, and they're using a real-world economy, so there's no monopoly money, there's no weird point system where the points have to have a conversion rate to a secondary value. All CardSphere transactions are US dollars or Canadian dollars, depending, or whatever dollar system. All of the currency in the marketplace is tied to the US dollar, so whenever you want, you can cash out of your CardSphere money for real US dollars at a 10% loss, or $10, depending on which is higher. But the real advantage of CardSphere, in my opinion, is if you are looking to turn your cards into other cards. Like Puka Trade was sort of a trade platform for people to trade their modern staples into EDH or their EDH staples into legacy cards, or to turn a bunch of standard cards into one dual land. The transaction fees on CardSphere are only 1% as long as you keep the money in the system. So let's say you ship out a bunch of cards on CardSphere and get around $200 worth of cards shipped. You're only losing a 1% fee as long as that money stays in the system, and then you can put your dual lands, your shock lands, your fetch lands, all these things that you want on CardSphere, and people can send those to you for that 1% fee that they'll lose, but you don't actually lose that 10 or 12% fee through eBay or TCGPlayer. So if you're looking to keep your money and sort of store credit it and build up your collection or minimize the amount of cards you have, but put it into sort of blue chip stocks like dual lands, power maybe, high-end reserve list cards. CardSphere might be what you're looking for, just because the transaction fees are significantly lower as long as you're keeping the money in the system, and if you're willing to wait for that one person to send you a high-value card. So that's sort of the overview of the different advantages and disadvantages of the more popular marketplaces. These are the options for you're looking to get the most time invested, but you get the higher percentage of retail. You're also looking at upfront costs like stamps, envelopes, printer paper, top loaders, penny sleeves. You do have an upfront cost to buy a lot of that stuff, and that's going to cut into your profit margins. It's going to cut into the amount of time you spend, but that's just the cost of doing business. If you're planning on doing this for over an extended period of time, or if you already have all those supplies, this might be the better option for you. But let's say you just have a deadline. You need to get everything, all your Magic cards, out of your house by 2 weeks from now, 1 week from now, and you just need a lower percentage of retail, and you're okay with that, but you get a lump sum of cash. So this is where Buylisting comes into play. You can either buy-list it to an online store like Card Kingdom, like Cool Stuff Inc., like ABU Games, like Star City, Channel Fireball, all these online stores, and it'll probably take a week or two for you to get the check, for them to process everything, all the mail system, all those things. You could take it to a Grand Prix, and you could take it to one of the stores. I myself am a buyer for 95 MTG at Grand Prix, so you can take it to somebody like me at a big Magic tournament. You don't even really need to do a ton of sorting, but you can just plop the long box down on the table, and then I will price out everything, give you a cash number, and you can shop it around the room, see what the highest cash number is, walk out with a bunch of cash in hand, very quick and painless. If you have somebody who's local to you, who does what I do, and just buys and sells collections for a living or for their part-time gig, and they have a lot of cash they can spend, that's another option, although generally you'll receive a significant less portion of the retail just because you're paying somebody who's not a GP buyer. There's very little competition in the area. I like to think my buy prices are pretty competitive personally, but not everyone has that sort of online retail LGS sort of system in place where sometimes your LGS pays you very, very little percentage of retail just because they can't afford to, or because they understand they have a monopoly on the area. But these are the situations where you're going to have to accept a less percentage of retail if you have that time deadline. When you bring a box to a GP, if you're willing to ogre the box and make a bit more work for yourself, you can sort all of the cards in your box by buy list price, and then look up the prices beforehand, separate those by the prices, and then give vendors an opportunity to match your online buy price. So what I mean by that is that you can sort all the 50-cent cards buy list, put them in one section, and then it's very easy for somebody like me to flip through that and say, yeah, I can pay 50 cents on Scourge Familiar. I can pay 50 cents on Zendikar Resurgent. Can't pay 50 cents on Curse of Opulence, but I can go through and just give you a yes or no number on each card, and it makes the transaction very smooth and very quick. All your Liliana Last Hopes, all your Metalworkers can go in the $30 pile. If you're willing to put in a few hours of work beforehand, before you take that box to the GP, you might save yourself a lot of time over the weekend, and that saves you more time on the weekend to do GP stuff. Like maybe you just want to see the city, maybe you want to go out to eat, maybe you want to hang out with friends, draft, do all that stuff. So regardless of how you choose to sell your collection, there's a couple suggestions I can make that will help you make the process go more smoothly, whether you're selling on TCGPlayer, whether you're selling on CardSphere, whether you're buy listing to an individual retailer, whether you're buy listing to your LGS, online Card Kingdom, something like that. The first tip is to de-sleeve everything. Nobody who's purchasing your collection at Buylisting really wants the sleeves, and it's going to make the process smoother for them to condition all the cards. So if you're selling a legacy deck, a couple modern decks, EDH decks, all that stuff, de-sleeving it beforehand will save both you and the person you're selling to a lot of time. Secondly, if you are selling everything on TCGPlayer and you're planning on organizing everything and having sort of a inventory system, I very much recommend set sorting everything that you are planning on listing on TCGPlayer or eBay, and then alphabetizing cards within set. I don't really think it's too much work to split up, or I don't really think it's worth the effort to split up foils versus non-foils, or split up different inventory sizes based on condition, but I have one of my TCGPlayer inventory boxes here to give you an example, and you can see how everything is set, sorted, and alphabetized. So I have 10th edition first, going through all the core sets, 8th of Revolt, Battle for Zendikar, Commander sets, all that stuff, and all of that is alphabetized within the set. So Conflicts has Ancient Ziggurat, then Apocalypse Hydra, etc., etc., and it's going to save you a lot of time when pulling orders. It's going to save you a lot of just stress of finding cards, not knowing where they were. Just having the system in place to know where your cards are when they are sold, and make sure that they are separate and not like in a trade binder, or not make sure that they're not going somewhere where they could be mixed up and lost while they're still sitting online to be sold, is going to save you a lot of time and stress. And that's really what we're trying to do here, is save you time, stress, and money. So sorting everything will be helpful regardless if you're trying to set up a TCGPlayer store, because anytime you sell cards to an online buy list like Card Kingdom, like Channel Fireball, they're going to want those cards in a specific order. So maybe you just haven't decided how you want to sell your collection, but you just know that you want to sell it. The first step will pretty much always be just organizing it by set and then alphabetically, because that will give you the greatest option to pick and choose how you want to sell your collection. It'll still be organized in advance. Alright, I hope this helped you learn more about how to navigate your way through selling your collection, the different options you have, the things that are available to you. If you're interested in more Magic Finance content, check out brainstormbrewery.com, check out patreon.com/brainstormbrewery. We really appreciate all the support, all our people who support this podcast and help us grow. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe our various social media pages for upcoming giveaways. Thanks so much for watching. My name is DJ Johnson, and I will see you all next time.